geeks come out at night. The geeks come out at night. The geeks come out at night.
The geeks come out.
The geeks come out at night.
Hello, everybody out there. It is Wednesday, so that means it is me, Mr. Michael Curtis, and I am joined here by
Mr. Brendan LaSalle at your service.
And this is Keep Crawlin with Mike and Brendan, and it has been another wonderful week here in Coronaville. So, which is like the worst. Who am I thinking of? Who's Margaritaville? Jimmy Buffett.
Jimmy Buffett, yeah.
The worst Jimmy Buffett song ever in the history of Corona, wasting away in Coronaville. So, Coronavirusville.
Yeah.
Oh, so here we go.
All I hope is that by the end of this, we all level up. After having survived a diseased,
I think I've leveled up twice since this all started. So.
rock solid, bro.
So how are you doing today, Brendan?
I am doing great. Had a wonderful day. Spent my day writing today, working on a new project for Mr. Goodman Games, and had a lot of fun. I drank a lot of hot tea.
Wait, are you allowed to drink hot tea in Georgia?
You know what? You have to do it like behind closed doors. If I was out there drinking anything but sweet tea out there on the porch,
I was going to say,
like irons.
some waitress would show up. Bless your heart, but you better drink this, or there's going to be words. You're going to have to go talk to Roscoe. So.
Sad but true.
Yeah, sad but true. All right, we must be officially live because Jess is in the chat room. So there we go. So, Jess, what are you making? Jess is baking right now. I'm sure she is.
Jess, what are you baking?
Let us know. so we can figure out what we're not having after this is all wrapped up.
I know, right?
No.
Think about it.
All right. So
how was your week, Mike?
It was good. Generally, everything is going well. Chocolate cake for Brad's birthday.
Nice. Hey, big shout out. Happy birthday, Brad McDevitt.
Yes.
Congratulations. 33 years young and still going strong.
That's like a day over 29. That's it. So, it was a good week. It was a good week. I cannot. As I said, as Brendan and I exchanged emails, it was so nice to have an episode last week where everything was going well and we didn't have really any issues or anything like that. So yeah. So it revitalized my happiness just in time for us to have our penultimate episode. Can you believe?
Penultimate, y'all.
Been 9 episodes we've been doing this. 9 episodes. That's more than 2 months. Actually, definitely more than 2 months because we had to take time off. So.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Brendan, we're in agreement is that there will be a season 2, at some point. But I think we're going to do that. We're going to do the British model, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
yeah.
That the British model is basically whenever the principal cast has time, and the fans are just about to forget about us. So.
Yes, exactly.
So.
I will have the butler alert me when enough time has passed, and then I will bridge my way back onto the stage. It'll be awesome.
And then we'll we're going to end up like Sherlock, and both of us will get appearance in a Peter Jackson film, and then
bring it. Hell yeah.
So what'd you do gaming this week?
Well, I was in, you know what? This was a free RPG Day weekend, and I, on behalf of Goodman Games, ran a whole lot of 2-hour demos for a whole lot of brand new players. I ran, 6 demos from between Thursday and Monday, and had a lot of fun doing that, and met a bunch of new players. And then I got to be a player in your wonderful war crawl game, and we had the neutrals still in the fight, you know what I mean, making it happen. Had a great time. My favorite DCC character I've ever had of all. So good old Dunstan Brook, just super fun.
You've made it 4 sessions. Well, actually 5 if you count the original funnel. and I'm pretty sure you're going to survive next game because you'll be busy running things at Gen Con, so you have plot immunity that week.
I know, right?
So,
It won't be like my last Pathfinder game where my guy died on my night off. I turned into Chris Tucker. How the heck are you gonna get killed your night off? You know, I was so bummed.
It happened to me. It's like, yeah, we thought your character would want to open that door that had the evil glyphs on it, and was radioactive. So
where's the love? That was my bard Trokio, who my cat's named after. That's how much he meant to me.
Aww.
Good character, a lot of fun.
Oh,
there you go.
All right. Well, yeah. So it's been good week all around. Can't complain. So.
Me either.
All right. Well, speaking of gaming stuff, I think maybe we should talk about our treasure type U then for tonight. We have a very special thing, and will you give us a little lead into that, Brendan?
Okay. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
All right. So this comes from our. Let me pull this on up here. Okay. First of all, let me apologize in advance. We have been discussing how to pronounce your last name, Christian. The closest we've gotten so far is Ovensnick. Okay, it's probably Ovensnick, but I don't know, but I apologize. But this comes from Christian Ovensnick. It's actually from a while back, and it kind of got pushed to the back of the queue. I don't know why, but I'm really excited to share this with you guys today. We ready?
Yep, let's go.
Okay. Okay, so Christian says, I have an item for the segment about favorite RPG items. Below is my original copy of the West End Games Star Wars RPG 2nd Edition, revised and expanded. I had the 2nd Edition copy prior to this, but lent it to a friend and never got it back. This game means a ton to me because as a kid, older millennial, late 30s, I was not allowed to play D&D because it was, quote, satanic. We had to sneak out and play AD&D and D&D 2E at friends' houses. But we could play Star Wars RPG at my house, and we played a ton. This is before the prequels or the special editions. So we had to create all of our own content or use the crazy EU stuff that West End Games is putting out. He says, so that was, I too am a huge fan of this. You know this about me, Mike, that I am not a System grognard at all, in any stretch of the imagination, with one exception. West End Games Star Wars is the only one that they've only gotten right the one time, and every other time I have found wanting. Huge fan of that system, had a lot of fun with it back when, and I'm right there with you, Christian. I too had friends who couldn't play D&D because of Satanic Panic. We had to find alternate games.
Yeah. We played, me and my buddies in high school and then in college, we played a metric ton of Star Wars. I mean, we were all in that same age category. I didn't actually pick up that book until later. We had the original first edition with all the little supplements that we played on. But I remember when that book came out, when that revised version that Christian sent us in came out, because that came out right about the same time that the special editions came out. And I was in college at this point, and we went to go see the special edition film. And then after we watched the New Hope, we were like, all right, let's stop by the game store because Mike's getting Star Wars, and we're gonna play Star Wars again. So yeah, there was so much fun in that, and it was great back in the day because that was the only Star Wars out there. That was your this was before the prequels, before now we're living in an embarrassment of Star Wars riches. But back then you had the first 3 movies, you had the extended edition, not the extended edition, the expanded universe novels, and a couple comics, and that was it. So that was what.
And of course, the basis of my campaign, the Star Wars Christmas special, where my guys had to save Life Day from the Sleethar. So
happy Life Day to you, my brother. Happy Life Day.
Happy Life Day to you, sir.
We actually we tracked that down. A buddy of mine, my old writing partner out in Los Angeles, sent me a copy of that, and we watched it with some friends back here. And all the time we were watching that, we were like, "Next year in Wookiee Land," doing cheers to it. It wasn't next year in Jerusalem, and we weren't even calling it Kashyyyk. We were just calling it Wookiee World. So
my first Gen Con, my two big purchases. I got a bootleg copy of that and a bootleg copy of the original Fantastic Four movie.
Mm-hmm. Oh God, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it was. B for effort, guys. Well done.
They made that solely to hold on to the rights for it a little bit longer. Yeah. Yeah, there was a great video store out by me that had, I mean, this was back when there were video stores, but they had everything, and they had that. And I remember going to see that, and we were like, yeah, that was it. That was a Corman production too. That was Roger Corman. That was Conquer New Horizons, right? Who
it could have been great.
No, it couldn't. It was Corman. It could not have been great. That's it.
It could have been fun.
It could have been
fun. It could have been. Yeah, it could have been. Yeah. But I actually went out of my way. I found out I was so excited about the Fantastic Four movie that I found out that there was a trailer of it. Oh, cool. I found out there was a trailer for it on a video you could rent from my local Blockbuster for this movie called Lush Life. And rented the movie specifically to watch the trailer. And then Lush Life wound up being one of my favorite movies of all time. It's a flawed gem. Jeff Goldblum, Forrest Whitaker, and Kathy Baker as jazz musicians in New York, living the life, and their loves and losses and tragedies.
Oh, okay.
Love it.
and the Fantastic Four trailer. That's it. That's all you need, man.
If you get the VHS copy, yeah.
No. Oh, Hector in chat wants the Grandpa's VR helmet from the Star Wars Holiday Special. That was,
You can watch me on that. Watch me malfunction.
What was it? It was like Starship. Was it? Was the like?
Oh yeah.
I think it was like a weird, like semi-erotic dance routine with like a theme song by Starship. I think. That's.
And didn't it have Maude on there? Maude was on there?
Yes. Had B. Arthur as the cantankerous cantina owner. I remember that. Who basically sang a ballad about basically you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here, So,
yeah.
And
that was
and a Carrie Fisher who was probably under some sort of not performance enhancement chemicals, but some sort of chemicals as she sang. I remember that very much so.
Oh yeah.
So all of this talking about Star Wars. This is kind of like the perfect segue into some of what we're going to talk about here tonight. So.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So Brendan and I we've been talking in the past. So what would be a good thing to discuss on the show? And since this is our show, and you were kind enough to join us here each week, we figured we would kind of unburden ourselves and get to know a little bit more about us when we're not behind the judge's screen. So Joe, so here is a thought experiment. All right. So what we're gonna do here, Brendan and I are going to talk about some things that we would love to do if money and time and opportunity were no object. So I think we're gonna frame this in this situation. So coronavirus is over, and we get a email from Joe Goodman, and Joe Goodman says, Mike, Brendan, you guys are such great guys, and Goodman Games has been doing such a banner year thanks to your efforts. Why don't you guys take a year off? Just we'll pay all your bills, take care of all of your stuff. You guys just do whatever you want for a year. Money is no object. I will use all my Dark Master powers if there's somebody that you want to work to, which is not Goodman Games. If there's a license that we need to get, we will get it. Basically carte blanche. Anything you guys want to do. So we figured we were talking about if we had a year of our druthers and nothing was stopping us, what we would spend that year doing, and what we would end up with at the course of that year. So we'll talk about some game systems we would love to have worked. We'll talk about some campaigns we would wish we had the time to do. Some inspirational media that we hope to finally get around to someday. So. I think inspirational media might be the best way to start, because that might lead into more of what we're going to talk about. So Brendan, you've got a year off. What do you read? What do you watch? What do you do to kind of revive those brain cells and get ready to do a year of unrestrained game design?
All right. It sounds corny, but if I had it to do all over again, I would go back and do the pilgrimage for the second time, I would once again do the Appendix N. I think I would just dedicate, really actively read it now that I've actually been designing in DCC for a while, and sort of like go back through and not like very often I'll say I'm going to do that and then just hit my favorites, which is pretty much Ursula K. Le Guin, the Jack Vance stuff, and then Far from the Great Mountain. I would. And then I get bored, and then I'm like, oh, I haven't read in a while. I'll go back and read this, and go back to it. But if I had to do, I think if I was like reading, I would go back and read all of go back and just do the whole pilgrimage, Appendix N, broken down, and then do that. I would like read one and then listen to the podcast and hear what everyone's saying, be a part of those discussions. I really haven't had time to just absorb that kind of stuff, you know what I mean? And I'd love to kind of get into that, go back and, give it one more hard look over, I mean, I know it's kind of like a corny thing, but when I read this topic, that was the first thing I could think of. My fantasy read would be imagine waking up the first day of your year off. You know what I mean? You just got your PayPal money. You know what I mean? You order some Chinese food for breakfast, because that's what I would do, and then decide what's the first thing I'm going to do. And then there on your bookshelf is arrayed all of those little paperbacks.
Right.
You know what I mean? All the DAW imprints, and you'd be like, and I just, the very idea just thrills me, absolutely thrills me.
Right. Yeah, it was I mean, it was because it's rough. I mean, it's rough to to try, because that's a big mountain to climb. And as with anything, it's like there's something is always going to come along and kind of knock you off. It's like, all right, well, I got to put down the merit because I got the toilet's backed up. By the time you get around to it, you get back to it, and things have changed. So yeah, it'd be a good way to just kind of to think about that and pile right into it and spend 365 days steeped in Appendix N. No, that's one way to do it. That's yeah.
Oh yeah. That'd be my kickoff. That would certainly be my kickoff. How about you, Mike? Same thing. 365 days. What's your go-to first read?
All right, so at the start of the year, I had kind of heard about it, but I hadn't actually read it. So it was the first year, like it had been out for a little while, but there was a book out which is called Paperbacks from Hell. I don't know if you're familiar with that. All right, so it's this great overview of the 70s and 80s like cheap horror paperback boom that that basically back in the day where you would go into the pharmacy and there'd be the spinner rack there at the drugstore, and there'd be like 6 VC Andrews novels, although she had been dead like 6 years, and and there was like one, like a skull baby, and like the title would be like The Crib or something, and for like $2.99 you would have 200 pages of pure crap, but it was so entertaining pure crap, so yeah, so the Paperbacks from Hell is like this really great, not only examination of like all the different genres and like the themes in there, like there's an entire chapter just on like evil babies, but they have like the art from all the like the vintage art from all the paperbacks and everything, and so it's this amazing book, and going through that I was just like wow, like because I remember those days, like the old paperback covers that would be like you would like there would be like the die cut out like in the center of it, like be like the evil face like up on the mirror, and then you'd open it up, it's like the screaming woman with like like a skull doctor behind her or something, so it's just this great catalog of stuff, and I would like the very first book they talk about, I forget the name of it offhand, but basically it's about Nazi leprechauns. And like I saw that, I'm like, oh, I would have to track that book down. Like,
wow, yeah.
So I would spend 365 days just tracking down like bad horror 1970s, 1980s, and just steep myself in that. So no, I was gonna say, is that Clay Lifford? Clay Lifford's had a friend who replaced V.C. Andrews, and is his ghostwriter now. I'd say my aunt was actually V.C. Andrews' like valet and personal assistant in the last years of her life, And
Goodness gracious.
yeah, my aunt has passed away a couple of years ago, but she wrote like her own manuscript of like my life with VC Andrews. So so yeah, no, the world is about this big. So
What was she like? What did your aunt say she was like?
You know what? I have not read the manuscript. And to be honest, at that, like back in the day, I was not like a huge VC Andrews fan. Like, like really her tastes, her writing and my taste did not align. So I was not all that interested in VC Andrews at the time. And to be honest, still not all that interested. But so I never really asked my aunt like what was she like, because I didn't care. But I suppose I could always dig up the manuscript and find out for myself. But so
That's a trip.
I think that's what I would do book wise. I don't know. There would definitely be like some movie watching in there, and I think, there's just so many great, like I wouldn't watch a lot of fantasy movies, but I would like do like spend like a month just watching like samurai films. Like so like there's so many, like I know like all the big samurai films, but there are some out there which I really need to do. Like
Cool.
some it's not technically a samurai film, but like was it like Onibaba? Have you ever heard that one? It's like
No,
this,
that one I don't know.
like it's like this black and white Japanese samurai era film, but it's like a horror flick, and apparently there's like it has the most menacing grass in the history of cinema. There's like just beautiful black and white shots of like ominous grass blowing in the wind. So something I've been meaning to watch, but I have not had the time because like we were talking, every time you get caught up, something goes wrong, and then you have to fix the toilet, and then you lose track of
Yeah,
stuff.
no, 100%, man, 100%.
So
Yeah, there's so many projects I have like started and then had like paying work pop up that I had to leave. So I've got like 17 abandoned projects that are the same thing. I just had to move on from them. But boy, I'd love to go back after them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know.
But yeah, that would definitely do. That would I've seen Hector. I have seen some of the Shaw Brothers movies. But there's just so much.
I have as well.
There's just so much out there that we don't have enough time to really delve into that. I would love to.
No, fully. All right, so my movie choice for my year,
Mm-hmm.
I would go back and like I would really super specialize. I thought about this very, very hard. I would go back and watch 80s and 90s concert films from Athens, Georgia bands.
Really?
So yeah, so I know it sounds like what, but like I lived there during that time, and I used to just go see. We would just go see live music. Like rather than go out to a bar, you would go see a band. You know what I'm saying? Or see multiple bands. And it was Athens was one of the greatest cities in the world to go see live music in, because you would go and see like big bands for very cheap. I saw the Ramones at the Georgia Theater for like $8. You know what I'm saying? And like in 87, I want to say, or 88, somewhere in that thing. I saw Nirvana play the 40 Watt Club, and if I paid more than $6, I'd be shocked. You know what I mean? And there were so many of these little bands that I you'd only ever go see them one time, and then you'd never, sorry, I gotta point this out here. Seven Brothers and Their Sister Meet Dracula. Huge fan. Love that film from the things. But yeah, I would go back. A few years ago, I went to AFFest, and there was a booth there, and the guy just had a wall of DVDs of concert films of all of these Athens bands, and it was just like, I spent my budget. I spent my beer budget on Athens things at that point. And I picked up Down a band I used to love from back then, Down with the Woo. I picked up some other stuff, but it was just like, just like all of that. So I would go back and like really revisit that period, because so many of those bands I would go and see one time and be like, that was great, and then never see them again.
Right.
And like that was when I didn't appreciate albums anywhere near as much as I appreciated going and seeing live shows. Live music was my thing for the longest time, So I'd love to go back and like actually really spend some time with a lot of these bands that I just saw it, appreciated, thought was cool, but never got back to,
Right. Oh, and I'm sure a lot of those bands they were around for 6 hours, like.
Yeah. I saw the Hindu Love Gods. Okay, the Hindu Love Gods I think they played like 11 times in their whole lives. So the Hindu Love Gods, it was REM minus Michael Stipe plus Warren Zevon.
Okay.
Okay. You know, it was, you know, it was fantastic. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, but it was like, you know, like I saw all of these incredible bands like, you know, you don't ever see them one time. And like, I went, God bless. They also had like, you know, cheap beer. So, I mean, I was hanging out with my buds and hanging out in the back and just like rocked, you know what I mean? Like, I like to go back and really like listen to what I was listening to back then when I mean, sometimes, you know, I would go like, I saw Bob Mould play and me and a buddy of mine played pool all the time, like a bunch of idiots. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, like, it kills me how, I mean, I had fun, but, you know.
Youth is wasted on the young, right? Just like, if I knew now what I knew then, you know, right? So, or if I knew then what I know now, something like that, right?
Word 'em up.
All right, cool. So, yeah, so we've got stuff to watch, we've got stuff to listen to, we've got books to read and everything like that. So before it's time to actually get to work, all right, we now assuming we can actually get our friends who have to go to work, you know, we can actually get them to sit around and play some games. Is there like a campaign that you have been sitting on for ages and would love to do?
Yes, there is. You know, I have this idea in mind for you know, it's my fantasy heartbreaker.
Right.
You know, I have actually started it twice with two different groups of people and never got more than a couple of sessions in for this reason or that reason. You know what I'm saying? But like, I have this, the basis of it is the retaking of this island. This island in you know, my fantasy world of it, once was controlled by like humans, then all these creatures came and took over. There are armies of giants and undead there and all these different kinds of monsters. And then because of a quirk, a magical quirk of the island, the 7 most powerful beings there get elevated to the status of dukes. So you have these 7 incredibly powerful monsters, each one which has been named a duke of this island. And then the idea is that for political reasons, the players all sort of like, you know, get sent over to this island with the idea of that if they are able to tame the land and actually clear it out, then they would they would become, once rule was established there, each one of them would actually be like a prince or be elevated essentially to the aristocracy and have lands and everything. And it's more of the interplay of these dukes and these different encounter areas I had. You know, I've run the first encounter. Oh my gosh! And it just popped out of my head. Fiend's folio monster with the glowing eyes. Is that Burbalangs?
The Blindum?
Blindums. Yeah. So it started off with a Blindum encounter.
I'm single, ladies.
Oh my God. Yeah. Oof. Sorry.
I'm sorry. Didn't mean to derail you like that.
No, straight up though. But this is what it means to be a hardcore gaming dork. You know what I'm saying? Like Blindums, yes. So I had the first encounter I've run twice where there's a bunch of Blindums that worship this magical lighthouse. You have to get past them to get in the lighthouse to find out its secrets and such. I've run that bit a couple of times, but I've never gotten to actually get to the meat of it, and it's because it's too big. There's too much to do, you know. So I would run that again. I ran it initially with Dungeons and Dragons, and then I did a version with Pathfinder back in my Pathfinder days. And both times it was really like the campaign grew out of. I read an article about what do they call it? About sandbox campaign. And I had never even heard the term. I was like, oh, sandbox campaign, what's that? So this was my simulated sandbox, where the idea was it would feel like a sandbox, but it was actually, much more orchestrated than that. You know what I'm saying? And I never got to tell that whole story. It broke my heart.
So do you think that would be like, would that be like from a level 1 to like level 10 sort of thing, or?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Level 1 to level 10, and then my ideal of it is eventually war against the mainland. Like the people who sent you, you find out what they're really up to, and you have to go to war with them to now protect this place that you have, you know.
So, strangely enough, their names were all Mr. Johnson. Who would have seen this betrayal coming? That's interesting. Oh,
No, totally.
That sounds cool, man. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I'll tell you what, I had a lot of fun both times doing it, but I had a lot more fun working on it. I am not one to put like, I know people who put like 2 hours into every hour, 2 hours of prep into every hour of game they do. I ain't the one. But I just enjoyed doing prep for this so much. And it was one of those things where it was a point I was like, would this be a good fantasy novel? And I decided, no, it really wouldn't be. This is a designed to be an adventure, designed to have players who would act independently of what I wanted them to do. And never got it.
Yeah. That's
Maybe
cool, though,
someday.
man. I hope, you know what? I hope there comes a time when you're not, running games on Twitch for, 8 sessions in a seven day week. Maybe one day you will be able to actually do this. Now that we've all discovered that you can actually game at home and don't even have to put your pants on, so that's awesome. No, yeah.
Maybe so. How about yourself, Mike? You must have a campaign like that up your sleeve.
Well, I would actually say is that the campaign that I have wanted to run for several years, I'm actually currently running. I think the war crawl thing has just basically, like, that was something that I wanted to do, and I couldn't do it like face to face, because I didn't have a player group that big enough in order to pull it off. So I think that I think just because that I'm able to do this online, that is, I'm actually fulfilling that dream. I think the only thing that I would, if I could do it again, I would definitely do it. So there would be there would be like a miniature wargaming element to it, like really old school, because that's like the one element, because the whole war crawl thing is based on like that old school original D&D war game, like war game role playing games, kind of, it's kind of on the cusp of both. So I would have loved it if it was something that we, like, in addition to all the stuff that was going on between the three alignments, like we could, there could be also like mass battles going on, and that could change what happens each week. Like, so we have like the role playing sessions, and then like on Sunday, like we might have law and neutrality duke it out, and their forces throw each other against, and how that turns out has an effect on the campaign. I would love to do that. I may get a chance to do that, but I'm sensing that when Warcrawl is all done, I'm going to be a little burned out from running massive fantasy stuff for a little while. So I'm glad I'm doing that. But but that being said, I think that I would tackle, since I'm kind of doing what I want to do, I think I would tackle one of the great pre-written campaigns that I have never had a chance to do. Like, although I've been a fan of Call of Cthulhu for many, many years, I have never run like Maskin Nyarlathotep, and that is, hands down considered one of the great campaigns. I mean, and I've never run it. But if I had a year off, I would run that thing in a second, man. In fact, I have everything I need to do it. Who knows? I may end up doing that at some point anyway. But yeah, would you like either that or like, Beyond the Mountains of Madness, like some like big epic campaign. Definitely not fantasy. So there's not like a lot of. So yeah, I think it would end up having to be like Call of Cthulhu or something, because there's like, out of epic campaigns, there's not a lot which aren't fantasy. I mean, I think, like the classics are like Against the Giants, Underdark, Queen Demon Web Pits, or like the, the Slaver series or something like that. But like out of the non-sword and sorcery stuff, you just really have like the Call of Cthulhu ones and stuff. So, but yeah, I would do something like that. I think that would be my that would how I would kill a year. And if I had 2 years off, I'd run them back to back. So that's what I do. That was that would. Yeah. Is there anything that you would play? Is there something that you would like? Is there like an RPG which is out that you've always been like, I want to play that, but I've never, I never had the opportunity to?
You know what? This is so selfish. This is like so like, this would be a thing I would do for me here. But if we're talking about having this set up there, okay. So Deadlands. Okay. I was a big fan of Deadlands mostly. There were a lot of things about Deadlands that drove me nuts. So I wound up running Deadlands for a big group of my friends in Athens, and I made all these changes to it that I thought made it really spectacular. And what I would like to do would be to play my game my way as a player with somebody else running it in exactly the same tweaky way that I had done. Like not the actual encounters, but like the rules and the variants I made to the character class. So I would really like for someone to say, Brendan, why don't you write this wonderful campaign book that will have all of the elements that you would change about this wonderful, hardworking campaign that's been out there for years. And real smart people have put a lot of time in, but do it your way, and then I'll run it for you exactly the way that you would like to do it. And that's as self-indulgent as it gets, but that's the truth.
I don't think there's a game master alive who doesn't think that way, because you are always running the games that you would want to play in, but you are the only jackass dumb enough to actually run the game thing. So like everybody else goes, oh, this is the greatest campaign. I was like, I know, I wish I could play it, So,
no, it's totally true. Yeah.
So it's like, cause especially if you do this for a living, because you're like, oh, well, because like, oh, I want to do this, and and your ideas are like, you're the only one you're the only one qualified to come up with the game that you want to play. So I totally dig that. And I think every campaign that I write is just like, this would be so awesome. Like if I could write this book and then give myself amnesia and then like play it, so I could be surprised at what I came up with, So.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I don't even want to do I wouldn't want to even go through adventures that I had designed. Mm-hmm. But I would like to have someone use my variants for the characters and the magic system and the setting. I'd like them to do it my way. Mm-hmm. And then let me play in that, and that would be so, it's, even saying that I'm a little embarrassed, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, that's the truth.
Yeah.
Well,
Mm. All right. I think I would play something that was I would play like a dozen games with once a month, like one a month. I would play some game which is totally not me, just to totally expand. I would play like Blue Rose, like the courtly romance game, just something that is just I would have no idea what the hell I was doing, but doing this professionally, you're like, hey, that's a great idea. Let me steal that for my next thing. Or I like this, this concept, but what can I do with it? I would play that. Mm-hmm. I would play like the weird, really like the story games, which are like really specific, like Night Witches, where you're female Russian bomber pilots in World War II. You're sitting to play a very specific game when you're going to sit down and play that. It's not.
Yeah, no kidding. Gosh, that's fun though.
Yeah, I think that's what I would. That was definitely what I would do. I would just something completely like Life with Master. I don't know, Brad. I don't know if I'm quite doing Life with Master.
I don't know what's Life with Master. I don't know that.
It is from what I know about it, there are certain, as you could say, there are certain relationships where one is a master and one is not a master. One is, say, a slave, or perhaps has some sort of power dynamic, some sort of power dynamic involved. Yes. So,
say no more, Governor. Gotcha. I'll tell you what. Go ahead.
No, Brad is saying Igor the RPG, and I'm not, from my understanding, that's not quite what it is, but I just might have a wrong mind. So.
I'll tell you about one of the campaigns that got away, though. When I was in college at Kansas State University here in Georgia, go Owls, one of my friends ran a little game, maybe you've heard of, called Nightlife. So Nightlife is actually Brad McDevitt's fantasy Brad McDevitt's fantasy horror game. And this was a decade before I knew Brad, and I knew Brad for years before I made the association that, that's Brad McDevitt that did this game, you know? I had a lot of fun playing that. I had a construct character with all these crazy eyeball powers, and he was neat. And we had this great, like, it was one of those campaigns where we must have had like 15 players, but not everybody could come every night. So you would kind of like come and sit in and play out. And all took place in New York City in the, in the 5 things and such. So, I would love to see like to kind of go back and look at it with, when I played it, it was before I ever thought about doing anything professional in the gaming industry. I would like to see what that would feel like now as a professional gamer. I'd like to see I'd like to go ahead and, run this and, Jess says he will be running this for us, all caps, free exclamation points. I'm with it. I had a lot of fun with it. And let's just say that there are other modern urban horror fantasy games that have been very much influenced by nightlife. And, I'd like to go back to the roots of all that and start again. So that was a lot of fun.
I owned a copy of it. I owned a copy of it back in the day, too. Again, the same thing. We didn't realize it was Brad until much later. And unfortunately, it went away in one of the great, RPG purges because of one of those things that I read a lot but never actually played. But as Brad points out, and nostalgia aside, the system was antiquated by 1992. There was a very specific, late 80s, like early 90s type of game mechanics that we go to now, and you're like, oh my, I don't know if we can do this again. we were such, in some ways we were such simpler then, but we were also, more accepting of more grandiose ideas. So it's kind of like going back and playing something for like the, like really, table heavy from like, the table heavy, it's like trying to play Top Secret, like the first edition Top Secret nowadays. And like I tried to do that in college, and we look back and like, no, we will not be playing this. Not rules as written.
Dude, a buddy of mine is not only is still running Top Secret, he uses the Top Secret mechanics to run D&D adventures. The last time I talked to him, he was running the Caves of Chaos and the Keep of the Borderlands using Top Secret.
I'm out. As soon as we have to get hand-to-hand combat, and I'm choosing if I'm going to be blocking this round against his rabbit punch, and we have to look at the table and figure out what that does. No, I'm out. No, sorry, man.
No, I agreed. But it's to me it was I don't know. Like I played Top Secret as a kid, but I never ran it, and I remember like thinking I had this fascination with spy stuff, the spy books and spy movies, but I still haven't found my perfect spy game yet. I haven't found my perfect spy movie yet. The closest you can come, I really like the most recent iteration of Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, the Gary Oldman.
Totally going to say that. I love that, man.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Not only is that a great movie, Gary Oldman outacts everybody in that movie and doesn't even stand up through like 90% of the movie. Like he's sitting down. They're like 90%. He's still a better actor, and
Yeah, that's a shockingly good spy movie, and that's as close as it's come to like being like, okay, that's the one.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I totally agree. That's actually what I would probably go back and I would like if I had a year off, screw that. I would go back and I would read like Le Carre, like I would like go through the entire thing, the whole Smiley's people, that's what I would do.
I read it when I was too young to appreciate them, so.
Yeah. All right, so we got about 15 minutes left. So let's get to the meat of tonight's discussion. All right, this is the thing where people are waiting for. Like, okay, these two knuckleheads are game designers. If they could do anything, if they could come up with any, like, put their name underneath, whatever new hotness, which is going to be, rocketing up the charts. Any IP, nothing is no object. Like, what will we spend 12 months working on, perfecting, making the best iteration of?
Mike, I've been dying all day to hear what you have to say about this. What would you got 1 year, there is no IP that is out of reach, there is no grumpy creator that can tell you no. What is it going to be, Mike? What will you work on, sir?
Okay, all right. So this is in some ways, I'm extremely lucky because if you had asked me this question 10 years ago, I would have said, you know what? I don't think anybody has done a really good job doing the Fafford and Gray Mouser tales. I would love to have taken a shot. I would love to do that, and because I am extremely fortunate, I was able to do so. So like that big thing has been crossed off my bucket list, and the fact that it's been well received, even better. So that was like the huge thing that I would. That's like the one huge, IP thing that I would have loved to tackle, and I got the chance to do it. So as a designer, that is always going to be the feather in my cap. I mean, no matter, I might as well just stop now because anything I do from this point on is just going to be disappointment. It's like so. However, okay, so I think I did mention this that time when we were driving back from Gen Con. I think what I would like to do, and so it wouldn't be a really game, but it would be. I would, because this would just go back to my roots in like horror. It goes back to my roots as writing. It goes back to my ninth grade English class or everything, and it kind of tied into basically the book that I would say that I would write. And it is that I would love to do not write like the Stephen King role playing game. I wouldn't do that because I don't think they're gonna. However, I would put out like the big book of Stephen King monsters. Like I would like go through, like I would love to do for DCC or for Call of Cthulhu, for like, why not? We'll make it triple stats, right? Anything you want on here or anything. But I would love to go back and just like and of course everyone's like now you have stats for Pennywise the Clown. Like, okay, that's cool, but I think like one of my favorite Stephen King stories is Gray Matter. Do you know that one? That was.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Sir. Single cell organism guy, beer.
Yeah, shitty beer, and like he starts turning into like this amoeba guy and everything. Yeah, like I would love to like stat up like the Gray Matter guy. Like like that is the that is the kind of stuff that I would like like there's like the one story where there's the giant finger which just comes out of like the drain and everything. Like I would just like the weird ass Stephen King stuff. Like I would just love to put this huge book together. Like I mean, there's some stuff in like the Dark Tower, series, but like I really love the stuff that he was writing when he was and he will admit it, all coked up and all drunk. I mean, so
that'd be true.
Yeah, I would love to do that. Like just because it would just give me an excuse to read from A to Z, all the Stephen King stories again. And.
I heard that.
Especially his early stuff, because I really dig his early stuff because that just came along at like the right time in my life. Yeah, that's Brad is talking about the eyes in the astronaut hand. Yeah, that was a weird.
Yeah.
I am the doorway. I think that was called.
And the doorway. Yeah. He burns him off. Ooh, that's so crazy.
Yeah. Clay Lifford is definitely on job. This. Yeah, definitely. Gray Matter is so nasty. It is. Yeah. That is something that I would love to do. I don't think it would, I suppose I could, I could do that. Technically there's nothing that would stop me from doing that. I just couldn't be able to, actually do anything with it aside, hand it out behind the Goodman Games booth, when no one was looking, So.
Yeah, no. Yeah.
But, all right. So that's what I think. That's what I would do. I'm sure there's probably something else will come to my mind, but. So, all right, Brendan, what is it, man? What? Tell me what's in your heart of hearts here.
In my heart of hearts, if I have my year and I can do whatever I want to, and I can do a role-playing game over any IP that's out there, I would have to do one over my absolute all-time favorite fantasy series, and give it all the time and the art it would need. I would do Discworld.
Okay.
I'm a huge Discworld fan. I love the genre. I love that, Discworld, it's funny. You could really run Discworld. If I gun in my head today, I would run it with your Lankmar variants for rules. I would run, essentially run a Lankmar campaign, but I would put it in Discworld and just create Discworld-esque situations and use those monsters and bad guys and things and the anthropomorphic personifications. But that's the one that I love, I think, I'm just, I don't know. My Discworld story is that when I met my wife, I had been, at this point, I'm already writing stuff. I had done X-Crawl, and I was working on my second thing for Joe. And I was explaining to her about this adventure I'm writing, which is there's a giant turtle out there in space, and you have to go up there and deal with it. And my wife is like, oh, like Discworld. And I'm like what? Had never heard of it. And it had just been, I was copying the giant turtle from the Gauntlet video game that you have to fly across, you know, and like and fight on the back of. And I had no idea. I guess they were copying of, and you know, thinking of that famous anecdote from Stephen Hawking about how the woman demanded that, you know, she said, you know, that the Earth just sits on the back of a turtle. Mm-hmm. And she's like, well, what's under the turtle? And he's like, it's turtles all the way down.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would do Discworld. Yes, Brad said Discworld would be better for decency than GURPS. Yes, sir. Yes, sir, it would be.
I was gonna say, I was like, I thought GURPS did a stab at it, because I think that's the closest you ever get to like a Discworld RPG, though, you know. But then GURPS had a stab. They did a stab at everything. So you know.
I know, right? Yeah. You know, GURPS did. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. They did a very workmanlike version of it. They used the right place names and such. But you know what? This is where what I would really concentrate. I would really concentrate on making the core book a cracking good read. And I think that would be the focus. Even more, I mean, like I said, even more than making it super playable, I think that I love that property so much. I love Discworld so much that I would really just want it to be so much fun to read that would be, you know, there are some role-playing game materials that are like that. You just can't, you just can't, I don't know, you can't really appreciate it for a piece of writing, and that's what I would really like to do.
I think you would make an excellent match for Discworld, because Discworld has that sense of humor that, you know, you definitely it has to be, you know, part and parcel of the whole thing. You can't really do it straight. So, you know, I mean, God knows you're a funny man. So I mean, you just hold up X-Crawl and like, look, these are my credentials. These are, you know, right. So come on, just read this. Do you think I can do Discworld? So,
yeah.
I'm surprised nobody has taken a shot at that. Not since GURPS. You know, I wonder if that's there's just they don't think that there's a license for it, or I mean, or an audience for it, or.
I mean, I imagine it's a complicated license for it, because all of his stuff. I mean, there's Hollywood. You know, they've been talking about doing a Discworld TV show for years. You know, there's a lot of, you know, and of course now, God bless, Sir Terry's passed on, and you know, I'm sure it's way more. Yes, good. Yes, complete Angmore for best city guide ever. Yeah, agreed. Yeah, it's marvelous. It's so much fun, but I think that the licensing would be very, very complicated.
Yeah.
But of course, the Dark Master would use his dark magic or voodoo to make it happen in my life.
Yeah,
so, you know.
Yeah, I guess it has to be something that's like somebody who's been, you know, it's like somebody's white whale, and somebody's been trying to do a television show for or something for the longest time, because God knows nobody's done anything else with it. So I'm sure that's one of those things. Sure, there's one of those rights things which had bumped through about 6 different companies by now. Somebody's been trying to, you know, do something with it, you know, since the dawn of time, since he was, you know. Yeah, but yeah, I don't know, man. Maybe Joe, get in there and, you know, ask.
Come on, Joe.
Can our little dog and pony show do something with this? That's it.
You know what? This is something I've decided today. I'm you know, now I'm broadcasting all over the world and such. But when X-Crawl is a thing, when it's in stores and people have it, I'm going to really see about like what the license is like for that. I mean, I would love to. That's a lifetime of work. I mean, there's so many books. There's so much material, and you know, you have to, you know, the City Watch, the Time Monks, the, you know, Death. You know what I mean? Like you couldn't do a game, you know, an Ankh-Warport game without actually having Death in there and such. You know what I'm saying? So
right.
I mean, I'd love to see. If it was possible, I would love to do it. I would love to make that. I mean, it would be a huge undertaking, you know. I mean, enormous. But I think Great Forces would come to your aid, because it's such a phenomenal, such a wonderfully told story, and you know, it's a parody, and that's something I love working in parody. X-Crawl's a parody, you know what I'm saying? I mean, in a lot of ways, you know. And I feel like it would have a lot of that same kind of, for lack of a better term, mouthfeel. You know what I'm saying? Like the play feel would feel like that, you know, where it would be like, you know, the the sort of like the drudgery of being a fantasy hero in the modern Discworld out there and such, and having to deal with it all as a real person. I don't know. I think it'd be fantastic.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah, that was it. Tim White is saying he would love to do another Find Myth. I think I would have been in agreement with that about 10 years ago. But the last time I tried to read another Find Myth, I was just it was my taste had changed. It was just I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying it wasn't for me. I don't know. It's just been a while. I think also the copy that I had was terribly put together. It was just rife with typos. But just this grosser thing. I was like
ruins it.
Yeah, it was terrible.
Man,
I could not
I hate
do
that.
But like I said, like 10 years ago, 20 years ago, I would have been all over that. Yeah. Brad's right. It's like another Find Myth is a lot like Xanth. It's very dated today. Yes, it is. There are some certain things which will not fly in the current state of enlightenment that we dwell upon. Yeah. So. Yeah, all right, man. I think that's I would love I think from the next couple of years, people are just going to be coming up to us at Gen Con once there's Gen Con again, and trying to buy our illicit Stephen King monster book and our unlicensed Discworld RPG out of the back of the Goodman booth and everything. Come here, little boy.
I'll have like a coat. Hey, you want to buy a role-playing game? Not so loud.
Yeah, man. That'd be awesome, man. That's it. So
file the serial numbers off of Discord. No, I would never, out of respect, I would never do that without the full cooperation of the estate and everything. I mean, I could see running an adventure for home. God, I'll tell you like a shameful thing about me. Very often, I have thought out. I have a fanfic I want to write. I have a Discworld fanfic in my brain. I'm not going to do it. I don't, but oh my God, I understand the impulse to write fanfic because, you get lost in these fantasy worlds you love so much. And it's just like, I see a cool thing that could go here, but I could see running a home game, just doing it for friends, and
Yeah, it's not illegal if it's just for friends. That's put that in your back pocket. You never know when that phrase is going to come in handy. No, officer, it's not illegal. It's just for friends. That's it. If we had merch, that would be our first that'd be our first T-shirt. That's it. Oh man, no. So yeah, so I think that it's a shame that unfortunately that we're in a little bit we're coming up at the top of the hour. We're gonna have to leave our little magical dream world of someplace where somebody else was paying the bills and let us slack off for 365 days now.
Oh yeah, that's the thing too. Like even as I say that, I realize if I really had 365 days, I spend the first two doing nothing.
Nap. I'm going to spend January napping is what I'm going to do.
Oh my God. Oh. I've never been busier than I have been since the quarantine. I've never been busy.
Me too.
As far as
crazy how much stuff that I'm doing. I mean, granted, some of that is my own, my own fault, but still, it's busy time.
Oh yeah, me as well. I've been the same way where it was like. I'm fine, like on top of everything else I'm doing, I've been running the odd Saturday night game for friends. I've been doodling about other campaign stuff. I've been playing around with some fiction. You know what I mean? Like, but it's just been nuts. It's a crazy time. And I don't know. I can use a recharge.
Well, keep your fingers crossed that this is a once in a lifetime event. So I was telling somebody today, I was just like, you know what? If this vaccine comes along and next year's return to normal, I'm traveling a lot. Like every weekend, I don't care. I'm getting in my car, I'm driving somewhere else, and just spend the time in a hotel somewhere and walk through some town I've never been in and just kind of get out because I've been locked up a long time. So it's a shame.
I'm gonna shake hands.
It's a shame that you moved out of the Northeast because this would have been the perfect time for us to go around and and we could do another one of our great expeditions. You know that.
I know. It's been too long.
Brian Cartamach and Tim DeShane and you and I and get scared of somebody. So.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man.
Go back and find out who Cosmo really was.
Cosmo. Oh. All right. So, any closing words before we call it an end to episode number 9 of Keep Crawlin with Mike and Brendan?
Yeah, I do. You know what? Dream your dreams. If you have a fantasy thing like that out there that you want to do, there is, the mental space is free. Go in, think about it, plan on it, and maybe you can do it, maybe you don't. But I think that just wandering around inside the ideas of what might be, of what creative stuff you could do if you had all the circumstances were right, I think that gives you an idea of where your direction, what you want to be doing with your time. Even if you can't do it and such. And maybe there will come a time when, we'll do it anyway, even all of these things, maybe it's time for me to start finding old Athens, my old Athens concert films and watching those again.
Right.
We go back and just do appendix, start with the ones that I don't care for very much. I'll read the ones that I'm like, cult-like, lukewarm one. And this way, and save Ursula K. Le Guin as like a treat for the end, So
right. That's right. So for the lesson learned: follow your bliss, unless you're a serial killer.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's it for another week of Down in the Basement. We Keep Crawling with Mike and Brendan. Thank you all for joining us. We hope to see you next week when we will be doing the hopefully season and not series finale of Keep Crawling with Mike and Brendan. But that's really up to all you guys. So if you love seeing us, please let people know they should be tuning in, watching us and now they've got everything working again. So knock on wood. All right. So thank you very much again for joining us, Brendan. It is always a pleasure seeing you. Have a great pleasure. If anybody going to Gen Con this weekend, have a great kind of virtual time. Brendan, good luck running games. I am not doing anything. So all right. All right. That's it. Goodbye, everybody. We'll check you all in a week.
Check you out. Thanks.
All right.
The geeks come out at night. The geeks come out at night. The geeks come out at night. The geeks come out. The geeks come out at night.